That's what was going on. Today we're analyzing a two-bedroom condo in Greensboro, North Carolina. And this property was sent to me and it's already pending, right? So I like analyzing pending deals sometimes because I want to say out loud to myself, what did someone see in this property that I might not have seen, right? And this is going to be very interesting. So let's talk about this property. This property looks decent. I would probably put in new flooring, new paint. Probably this is just pretty tired. So it looks like paint and carpet or paint and flooring. Laundry machine's already there. I mean, I don't really love this wooden fence over here, especially the discoloration there. But all right, so it looks pretty standard. And what I typically do whenever ever I analyze a deal is I will go ahead and try to figure out, okay, what is the payment standards for this area? So if you just Google Greensboro Housing Authority 2025 payment standards, AI summary did not bring this up. You can probably go to the link, but I kind of like that this showed up right here. Where a two-bedroom payment standard is 1247. Now, this is confirmed to me by another friend in the area who is investing for about 1250 a month for rents. But typically, if you ever see payment standards and you are not covering rents for your property, usually you're going to want to deduct the utility allowance, such as if you see that the utility allowance for water for a two-bedroom condo is $50 and you're not covering water, then you have to deduct $50 from the monthly ceiling of 1247. Again, every housing authority is different, so that's why you want to make sure you figure out, okay, what are my utility allowances and what's the maximum rent I can get for a certain bedroom count for that asset type, whether that's a single family home or a condo in your area. Great. So now that you have that number here, what I'll also do is I'm going to go to affordablehousing.com. I'm going to go to the owner section. I'm going to go to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count. And you can see right here that on average, the rent for a two-bedroom within a 0.18 mile radius is 1368. Huh, that's actually a lot higher than what I've seen. But because the ceiling is 1247, I'm going to leave it at about 1247 for now for my rental assumption. So let's go here. Let's type in some numbers here. This property was listed for 110 grand. Again, you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io, go to the get deal analysis tool, and you should be able to get a copy of the spreadsheet. And just DM me if you have any issues. I don't know why. Today's the first time I've ever seen this error. So just let me know if you have any issues by DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Now, for renovations on this property, I'm gonna go to my rehab calculator. This property was how many square feet? 900 square feet. So I'll probably do paint and flooring. So I got paint 901 in row 85, and I got 901 for LVP plank luxury vinyl plank floor in row 90. So that will cover most of my rehab for the entire property. I'm just gonna zero everything else. Don't need a range. I'll probably replace one of the toilets with high pressure flush toilets so I don't get any called toilet calls. Gives me total rehab about 12 grand. Great, easy enough. At 1250 right here for my taxes and my insurance. Let's see what I was estimating on my payment calculator. If let's see if this was on Redfin. Great. Let's see what the payment calculator estimates for taxes. Taxes was 60. Great. HOA is 100. Great. And my property management expenses, caught 8%. I'll probably put it at 10% just to kind of keep things easy. $100. Maintenance at 5%. Now, the reason this is a lot lower than my typical 10% is because this is a condo, and my condo fee is set aside to help pay for your bigger capital expenditures, such as your roof, right? So that's why I'm okay having a lower maintenance because I know that my HOA is covering the maintenance for some of the larger items like sewer, etc. Great. So now that I got all these numbers in here, I'm gonna do my insurance was 43, so I'll do equals 43 times 1.2, and I'm multiplying my premium by 1.2 because I expect that our insurance is going to be more expensive when you use this property as an investment property versus a primary residence, right? Which is typically what I think that $43 is estimated for, right? Here on the payment calculator. So now that I got all these numbers in, let's say it's a 25% down payment for this property, B4 times F19. And then let's see if I got this. So now that I bought this property for 110 grand, my down payment is 25%. So my down payment amount is going to be B4, which is my listing price times my down payment percentage of 25%. I got 0.025, 2.5% of closing costs on this property. That gives me 2750. My financing amount is going to equals to B4 minus my down payment amount. So that's 82,500. Right now, your interest rates are probably closer to 7.5%, sometimes even 8%. I got to refinance for that. I'll show you that tomorrow. So 7.5%, here's what this is going to look like. If I rent this property as a 2-bedroom for 1250, just using round numbers here, I would cash flow $211 on this property, which makes it a 6% return. Purchase price is going to be 110. Rehab of about 12K. Yep, 12.5K. With a 25% down and 7.5% interest rate. Now, let's say your target return is 6%, right? What would have to be true for that to make it real? What if this person decided to do carpet instead of LVP like we have? Now, let's say they go to carpet. So let's say they did LVP for half the home. So I'm going to divide that by half. And they did carpet for the other half. So that just lowered their amount of capital expenditure to 10 grand, and now it's 6.3%. So that's still not there to my target return. Now, if I went to 100 grand, whoops, not a million. Now all of a sudden I'm at 8.45%. So if everything else stays true, now this is a deal, quote unquote, right? Because now I'm cashing $264 a month, about 8.5% return, which meets my target return of 8%. And that's with a $100,000 purchase price and a $10,000 rehab. So I'm sharing this scenario with you because I'm teaching you how might someone look at this deal a little bit differently, right? Some people might say, "Oh, I am self-managing the property, so I don't have any property management expenses," and they're gonna zero this thing out completely, which I disagree with. But if they do that, right now, all of a sudden, as a 2-bedroom renting out for 1250, you cash on $389 a month, and that's a 12.45% return with a $100,000 purchase price with a $10,000 rehab, right? This is what can happen if you just adjust the levers a little bit and think about a deal differently. Now, I don't recommend putting in zero for the property management expenses because I believe that everybody got into real estate for financial freedom, right? Freedom of time, freedom of choice. And if you are property managing your own property, then you have essentially bought yourself a job. So I don't really love that idea. It's something that you might want to pay attention to, but I wouldn't really advise it. So let's say your target return was 12%, right? I mean 10%. Then you might have to buy this property for even less. Or what if the interest rates drop by one whole point from 7.5 to 6.5? Well, in that case, you can still buy this property for 100 grand, still self-manage your property for 10% of your rent every single month, because you're still going to cash flow in this scenario, 314 a month. That's a 10% return on your capital with a $100,000 purchase price, with a $10,000 rehab, 25% down, and 6.5% interest rate. Now, this drop from 7.5% to 6.5% on mortgage interest rates, it can really happen overnight, to be honest with you, right? Right now, there's so much sentiment around the wars, around the Federal Reserve, what they're going to do with the interest rates, and they're also worried about tariffs. So if you look at the relationship between 30-year mortgage interest rates and 10-year yield, the treasury yield, you're going to see a bunch of charts that will explain to you, hey, what's actually happening. Now, historically, The 30-year mortgage interest rate is affected by two factors. It's affected by one, the interest rate on the 10-year yield, but also two, the spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage interest rates. Now, historically, that spread was like 1.5 to 2%. But in the last year, you can see some of these spreads. I mean, it's been wild. Like you can see that the 10-year yields right here, 30-year mortgage interest rates right there. It's like 2.5%. So it can go as high as like 3%. So just be very, very mindful, right? If there is sentiment that interest rates are going to drop, and it could happen simply by maybe Trump says, hey, next year I'm going to put in a new Fed Reserve chair and he's going to drop interest rate as soon as he gets in. So now that future expectation of interest rates falling might be enough for bond traders to drive down your 10-year yield, hence lowering your interest rates on the 30-year mortgage interest rates, right? Those are the things that can happen overnight, right? If 10-year yield drops half a point and there's more certainty, then the spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage interest rates get more narrow. So that is another step for you to get lower interest rates. So be very mindful about this. Be very careful because this can happen overnight and that will drastically affect your buying power. All right. I hope this was helpful, everybody. I think I really wanted to emphasize this last point in terms of following the 10-year treasury yield, not paying so much attention to just the headlines, but you got to understand the relationship between the 30-year mortgage interest rates and the 10-year yield. That's very, very important. Please pay very close attention to this. All right. So I hope you all have an amazing day. All right. I hope you all just copy my homework today, right? Use the same spreadsheet, go to my website, go and then analyze the same deal that I analyzed today, right? This property is on the market. I just got sent it, but it's already in due diligence. So call it I missed a boat. But I want to see what other people saw. Why did they think it was a deal? And I can kind of come up with different scenarios where it might be a deal for me. And I think that's why it's so important for you to adjust your criteria. I mean, adjust the levers that meet your criteria. So you know exactly what it is, what the deal looks like when you want to pull the trigger. And that's how you can get prepared. All right. Because guess what? At some point, someone's going to ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? And you can tell them that you think it's a deal because you've been looking at deals for the past 630 days. Might that give you some confidence that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. All right. I hope you all have an amazing day. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 630.